When a brilliant architect turned janitor and his precocious daughter cross paths with an ice-cold tech CEO at an exclusive charity gala. A drunken moment of vulnerability sparks an impossible connection that will shatter corporate empires, expose hidden pasts, and rebuild two broken souls into something neither thought they deserved. The Emerald Hall gleamed like a jewel box, all crystal chandeliers and marble floors polished to mirrors. Manhattan's elite glided through the charity gala in designer gowns and tailored tuxedos, champagne flutes catching the light like tiny stars. Marcus Reeves didn't belong here. He knew it. The security guard who'd checked his name 3 times knew it. The woman in the fur stole, who'd wrinkled her nose as he passed, knew it. But his daughter Lily had won the art competition. Her painting, a watercolor of 2 hands building a house together, had earned them these tickets. And he'd be damned if he let his shame steal this moment from her. "Daddy, look!" Lily tugged his sleeve, her eyes wide behind her glasses. At 7 years old, she wore a thrift store dress he'd pressed carefully that morning, her hair in braids he'd learned to do from YouTube. "Is that real gold on the walls?" "Gold leaf, sweetheart." Marcus adjusted his only suit jacket, the one he'd worn to job interviews, before accepting reality. Very thin sheets of gold. "We could live for a year on one sheet, couldn't we?" His throat tightened. "Probably. But tonight's not about money. It's about your art. You earned this." The room's temperature seemed to drop 5 degrees. Conversations paused mid-sentence. Heads turned like sunflowers following the sun, except this sun was cold, distant, untouchable. Victoria Chen moved through the crowd with the precision of a chess grandmaster. Every step calculated, every glance weighted. At 32, she'd built Nextech Industries into a $15 billion empire through AI and neural interface technology. Forbes called her the algorithm. Her competitors called her worse. Her black gown probably cost more than Marcus made in 6 months. Her eyes, dark and unreadable, swept the room with the efficiency of a security camera. "Mommy, that lady looks like Elsa," Lily whispered. Marcus winced. "Lily, we don't—" "Elsa, before she learned to feel," Lily finished thoughtfully. It happened at the refreshment table. Victoria reached for sparkling water. At the exact moment, Lily stretched for a cookie she couldn't quite reach. Their hands collided. The water bottle tumbled, and Victoria's reflexes, honed by years of martial arts her competitors didn't know about, caught it before it hit the ground. "Whoa." Lily's eyes went huge. "Are you a superhero?" Victoria stared at the child as if she'd asked the question in Sanskrit. What?" "That was so fast, like Spider-Man." Lily bounced on her toes. "Can you teach me?" "Lily." Marcus appeared, mortification coloring his cheeks. "I'm so sorry, Ms. Chen." Victoria's eyes moved from the excited child to the man, and stopped. Really stopped. He wasn't like the men here. No practiced smile, no calculating assessment of her net worth in his eyes. Just exhaustion, embarrassment, and something else. Something that looked like defeat, wearing a brave face. His hands, she noticed, were calloused. Real work hands. And the way he touched his daughter's shoulder, protective, gentle, apologetic, spoke of a tenderness this room had forgotten existed. "Your daughter," Victoria heard herself say, "has excellent reflexes." "She has excellent manners usually," Marcus said. "We should—" "I made the art," Lily announced proudly, pointing to her name tag. "See? Lily Reeves, first place junior division. Do you like art, Miss Ice Queen?" "Lily." Victoria's lips twitched, almost imperceptibly, but Marcus saw it, the ghost of something human beneath the permafrost. I appreciate precision, Victoria said carefully, and your painting demonstrates considerable technical skill for your age. Lily beamed. Daddy taught me. He's the best teacher in the whole world, even though he cleans toilets now. The silence that followed could have frozen the sun. Excuse me. A sharp voice cut through the moment. Gerald Whitmore, board member and old money aristocrat, appeared with his wife Constance. Is there a problem here? No problem, Marcus said quickly, taking Lily's hand. We were just leaving, I hope. Constance's smile was poisonous honey. The children's area is in the annex, dear. This section is for actual donors. We're invited guests, Marcus said evenly, but his jaw tightened. Oh, how charitable. Gerald's laugh was sharp. Let me guess. Scholarship family? Public school art program? Daddy won 15 architecture awards, Lily said fiercely. Before Lily. Marcus's voice cracked like a whip. Gentle, but final. Not now. Victoria watched this exchange with the detached interest of someone observing lab specimens. But something uncomfortable stirred in her chest. A sensation she'd trained herself to ignore. Architecture, Constance's eyebrow arched. How quaint. What do you design now? Mop patterns. The cruelty landed like a physical blow. Marcus's hand trembled slightly on Lily's shoulder. Actually, Victoria heard herself say, ice crystallizing each word. Mr. Reeves was just discussing the structural integrity of the Emerald Hall's restoration. I found his insights on the load-bearing modifications quite valuable. Three heads swiveled toward her. You know him? Gerald sputtered. I know competence when I observe it. Victoria's gaze could have cut diamonds, unlike some who inherited their positions rather than earning them. Now, if you'll excuse us. She walked away, leaving shocked silence in her wake. But not before Marcus saw something flicker across her face. Something that looked almost like anger on his behalf. 2 hours later, Victoria stood on the balcony, champagne glass in hand, alone as always. The gala was tedious. The people were predictable. She'd written the mandatory check, made the obligatory appearance, and could leave in exactly 12 minutes, according to her schedule. Miss Chen? She turned. Marcus stood in the doorway, backlit by the party lights, looking like he'd rather be anywhere else. My daughter wanted me to say thank you for earlier. Unnecessary. She also wanted to give you this. He held out a small drawing, done on a cocktail napkin. It showed a stick-figure woman with a crown, holding hands with a smaller figure. Both were smiling. Victoria stared at it, like it might explode. She sees the best in people, Marcus said quietly, even when they don't see it themselves. An inefficient trait in the real world. Maybe. But it's a beautiful one. Their eyes met, held. Victoria had consumed 3 glasses of champagne, 2 more than her usual limit. The alcohol loosened something carefully locked away, something dangerous. You don't belong here, she said. I know. But you came anyway, for her. I'd walk through fire for her. The simple certainty in his voice did something to Victoria's carefully constructed walls. Hairline fractures appeared in her composure. I had a daughter once, she heard herself say. The words shocked her own ears. She never spoke of this. Never. Almost. Marcus went very still. 5 years ago. 8 months pregnant. Car accident. Victoria's voice was clinical, distant. Driver fell asleep. Hit us head on. I survived. She didn't. God, I'm so sorry. Don't. The word was sharp. After that, I realized emotions were liabilities. Attachments were weakness. So I removed them. You can't just remove grief. Watch me. She drained her glass. Set it down with excessive care. I built an empire instead of a family. Algorithms instead of anything warm. The champagne was hitting harder now. Victoria swayed slightly. Miss Chen, maybe you should, if you were someone else, Victoria said, her words beginning to slur. If you were one of them, she gestured vaguely toward the party. I wouldn't feel. She stumbled. Marcus caught her, his janitor's hands steady and sure. You were sober, he said softly, his face very close to hers. I'd make the first move. So the scenes went wide, clear for just a moment. But you're not, Marcus continued, his voice gentle but firm. And you deserve better than a moment you might regret. Let me call you a car. Victoria woke in her penthouse with a champagne headache and fragmented memories that made her want to disappear into the floor. Had she really told a stranger, a janitor, about her daughter? Had she almost? Her phone buzzed. A text from her assistant. Emergency board meeting. Bureau. Next. Print entry paper. Print entry paper. 9 a.m. Hostile takeover attempt. Good work, numbers, strategy, the things that made sense. She pushed all thoughts of kind brown eyes and gentle hands from her mind. Or tried to. 3 days later, Marcus was working the night shift at the Next Tech Industries building. He hadn't expected this. When the janitorial company had assigned him here, he'd felt his stomach drop. But he needed the job. Needed every dollar for Lily's education fund. For the tiny apartment. For the future he was building one mop bucket at a time. At 11 p.m., the executive floor should have been empty. It wasn't. Victoria stood in her glass-walled office, surrounded by screens displaying financial data, projections, hostile acquisition models. She hadn't slept in 40 hours. Her CFO had betrayed her, selling company secrets to her largest competitor. The board was panicking. The stock was plummeting. She was alone on the deck of a sinking ship. Marcus saw her through the glass, saw the tension in her shoulders, saw the way she gripped the edge of her desk like a lifeline. He should have kept walking. Miss Chen? He knocked softly. I can come back. She spun around. For one unguarded second, he saw terror in her eyes. Then the mask slammed down. Mr. Reeves, what are you doing here? I work here, night custodial staff. Something complicated crossed her face. Of course you do. They stared at each other across the expanse of her office, a gulf wider than mere distance. I apologize, Victoria said stiffly, for my behavior at the gala. The things I said were inappropriate and human. She blinked. What? They were human, real, and I'm honored you trusted me with them. Victoria's composure cracked, like ice in spring thaw. She swayed suddenly, her hand going to her chest. Miss Chen? I'm fine, just tired. She wasn't fine. Marcus had seen this before, the shallow, breathing, the pale complexion, the way she was gripping her left arm. Period. You're having a panic attack. Maybe worse. When did you last eat? Period. I don't. Victoria's knees buckled. Marcus moved with the speed of a man who'd served as a combat medic, before becoming an architect, before losing everything, before learning that life could strip you down to nothing and expect you to keep walking. He caught her before she hit the floor, eased her into her chair, checked her pulse, period. Elevated but steady, breathing shallow. "Miss Chen, look at me." Her eyes found his, and in them he saw something he recognized. The look of someone who'd been strong for so long they'd forgotten how to admit weakness. Period. "Breathe with me," he said calmly. "In for 4. Hold for 4. Out for 4. That's it." He guided her through it, his voice steady, his presence an anchor. Slowly, her breathing normalized. Color returned to her face. "How did you—" "Period," she whispered. "I was a medic, before I was an architect, before I was this." They sat in her office as dawn broke over Manhattan. Victoria had sent her security away with a lie about working late. Marcus had texted his neighbor to check on Lily. "Tell me," Victoria said quietly, "what happened to you?" Marcus was silent for a long moment. Then, "I had everything. A wife I loved, a daughter on the way, a firm with my name on it. We were designing the new children's hospital downtown, my dream project." He stared at his calloused hands. "My wife, Sarah, she got sick during the pregnancy. Rare complication. I was at a site meeting when they called. By the time I got to the hospital, I had a daughter and no wife." Victoria's breath caught. "I tried to keep working, but I couldn't focus. Made mistakes. Small ones that became big ones. Tragedy. A calculation error on a commercial building. No one was hurt, thank God. But my professional reputation was destroyed. Lost everything. The firm, the house, the respect. But you kept your daughter. She's all I have. All that matters." His voice broke. "Some nights I lie awake wondering if she'd be better off with a father who hadn't. Who wasn't. Don't." Victoria's hand covered his. The first genuine human touch she'd initiated in 5 years. She has a father who sacrifices everything for her, who cleans toilets without shame because he loves her. That's not failure. That's heroism. Heroism doesn't pay the bills. No. But it builds character. The kind of character I've forgotten exists. What neither of them knew was that Lily had woken up feeling wrong, feverish, confused. The neighbor, Mrs. Rodriguez, found her collapsed in the bathroom. Appendicitis. Rushed to Manhattan General. Marcus's phone rang at 6:47 a.m. Victoria watched the color drain from his face. "I have to go. My daughter. I'm driving." Victoria was already grabbing her keys. "Which hospital?" "You don't have to." "Which hospital?" They made it in 14 minutes. Victoria's Aston Martin screamed through early morning traffic with the precision of a missile. Surgery. The word hung in the air like a guillotine. Marcus sat in the waiting room, his head in his hands, his whole body shaking. He'd been here before. Different hospital, different emergency, same crushing terror. "I can't lose her," he whispered. "I can't. She's everything." Victoria sat beside him, stiff and uncertain. Physical comfort was not her language, but she tried. Her hand found his shoulder. "Tell me about her," Victoria said softly. "Tell me about Lily." So he did. He told her about Lily's first word, Dada. Her favorite book, Where the Wild Things Are. How she insisted on wearing mismatched socks because matching is boring. How she collected smooth stones and named each one. How she'd cry at sad commercials but laugh at her own terrible jokes. "She's teaching herself Korean from YouTube," Marcus said, almost laughing through tears. Says she wants to understand K-pop lyrics. She's 7, and she's already smarter, kinder, braver than I'll ever be. She has you as a father. That's why. They sat in silence. Then Victoria spoke. My daughter's name was going to be Maya. I had her room decorated. Had picked out her first toy, a stuffed elephant. After the accident, I sold the house. Burned everything that reminded me of her. That must have been logical, Victoria said emptily. Efficient. That's what I told myself. But the truth is, I was terrified. Terrified that if I felt the grief, really felt it, I'd never stop screaming. Marcus took her hand. You don't have to be strong right now. And Victoria Chen, the algorithm, the ice queen, the woman who'd conquered boardrooms and broken competitors. Victoria Chen broke. She wept, not delicately, not prettily, but with the raw, ugly grief of someone who'd been holding back an ocean with a dam of pure will. Marcus held her. Just held her. Mr. Reeves, the surgeon, emerged. Marcus shot to his feet. Your daughter is in recovery. The appendectomy went perfectly. She'll be groggy for a while, but she's asking for you. The relief nearly knocked Marcus to his knees. Victoria steadied him. Thank God. Oh, thank God. You can see her in a few minutes. When they reached the recovery room, Lily's eyes fluttered open, focused on her father, smiled. Hi, Daddy. Hi, baby. How do you feel? Weird. Floaty. Her gaze drifted to Victoria. The Ice Queen came. Victoria, still raw from her breakdown, felt something crack further. She approached the bed slowly. How are you feeling, Lily? Better now that you're here. Are you and Daddy friends now? Marcus and Victoria exchanged a look. I think, Victoria said, carefully, we're learning to be. Good. Lily's hand found Victoria's. Small, warm, trusting. You looked sad at the fancy party. But you're pretty when you smile. You should smile more. Victoria felt tears threaten again. I'll try. Once Lily was settled in a private room, Marcus tried to protest the cost, but Victoria had quietly upgraded everything. The three of them existed in a strange bubble of intimacy. Lily dozed. Marcus sat beside her bed, holding her hand. Victoria stood by the window, watching them. You're good at this, Victoria observed. At what? Being present. Being... ... human. I don't have a choice. She needs me. And you? Victoria turned to face him. What do you need? The question hung between them, weighted with possibility. I need to keep her safe. Give her opportunities I never had. Show her that failure doesn't define you, that love matters more than money, that vulnerability is strength? Yes. Teach me, Victoria said suddenly. Teach me how to feel again. How to be something other than this. She gestured at herself, the expensive clothes, the cold perfection. I don't want to be an algorithm anymore. Marcus smiled sadly. Ms. Chen, Victoria, please. Victoria, I'm a janitor with a traumatic past and a 7-year-old daughter. I'm barely holding my life together. I can't teach you anything. You already have. 2 days later, everything exploded. Someone had been recording Victoria's breakdown in the hospital waiting room. A nurse with a phone, probably sold to the tabloids. The video went viral within hours. Ice Queen melts. Next Tech CEO Victoria Chen's shocking emotional breakdown. The board called an emergency meeting. Her competitors smelled blood in the water. Stock prices tanked. And behind it all, orchestrating everything, was someone Victoria had trusted completely. Richard Zhou, her COO, her right hand for 7 years. P. Marcus was at the hospital when Victoria called, her voice sharp with barely controlled fury. P. They're trying to remove me. Emergency board vote tomorrow. Richard's been working with quantum dynamics for months. He leaked everything. The breakdown video, the financial weaknesses, even, she paused, even information about Maya. That bastard. I'm going to lose everything. The company I built from nothing. My credibility. No. Marcus's voice was steel. You're not. Marcus, you don't understand corporate. I understand structure. I understand finding weaknesses in foundations and exploiting them. And I understand that you're not alone in this fight. Silence. What are you saying? I'm saying let me help. I might be a janitor now. But I was a strategist once. I built things. I can help you save yours. They worked through the night in Victoria's penthouse. Marcus, Victoria, and her few remaining loyal executives. Lily slept on the couch, recovering, occasionally waking to offer innocent but brilliant observations. Marcus studied Richard's coup attempt like an architectural blueprint, finding flaws in the structure. Here, he pointed to financial transfers. He's been moving money through subsidiary accounts, claiming them as operational expenses. But look, the timing. Every transfer happens exactly 3 days before quarterly reports. He's hiding something. Victoria's eyes narrowed. If we can prove he's embezzling, we turn the board against him. But we need proof. Real, undeniable proof. I can get into the system, Victoria said. But he'll know immediately. Not if he's distracted. Marcus smiled grimly. When's the board meeting? Tomorrow, 2 p.m. Then we have work to do. At 1:30 p.m., Richard Zoe strode into Nextech headquarters, like a conqueror claiming his throne. The board was assembling. Victoria's removal was a foregone conclusion. But something was wrong. The janitor was in the executive conference room. That same nobody from the charity gala. The one who'd somehow befriended Victoria during her breakdown. What are you doing here? Richard demanded. Marcus looked up from the table he was cleaning. My job, sir. Get out. Of course. Marcus moved slowly, methodically. And as he did, he accidentally knocked over his cleaning bucket near Richard's briefcase. You idiot! Richard jumped back. So, sorry, sir. Let me... In the confusion, Marcus grabbed Richard's phone from the briefcase. Plugged in the USB drive Victoria had prepared. 15 seconds. That's all they'd calculated it would take. Richard was too busy shouting to notice. Victoria entered the conference room like she was walking into battle. Because she was. The board members avoided her eyes. Cowards, all of them. Richard sat at the head of the table. Her seat, the audacity of it. Shall we begin? Richard's smile was shark-like. We're here to discuss Ms. Chen's leadership failures and... Actually, Victoria said coolly, activating the room's main screen, we're here to discuss yours. The screen filled with financial records. transfer logs, email chains between Richard and quantum dynamics executives. Most damning of all, recordings of Richard coaching the nurse to film Victoria's breakdown, offering her $10,000 for the video. The room erupted. "This is fabricated." Richard shot to his feet. "It's from your phone," Victoria said. "Downloaded 45 minutes ago. Time-stamped, verified. You've been embezzling for 18 months, Richard. Approximately $8.7 million. And you've been selling company secrets since the beginning of the year. You hacked my phone. I recovered stolen company property from a hostile internal threat." Victoria's smile was colder than absolute zero. "There's a difference. The board voted unanimously to remove Richard Zoe and bring criminal charges." Victoria's position was not only secured, it was strengthened. The media story shifted from breakdown to brilliant CEO ousts traitor. But Victoria didn't care about any of that. She found Marcus in the hallway outside, slumped against the wall with exhaustion. "We did it," he said quietly. "You did it. I would have gone into that meeting blind and angry. You gave me a strategy. I gave you information. You weaponized it." They smiled at each other. Two broken people who'd somehow become more than the sum of their damages. "Come with me," Victoria said suddenly. "There's something I need to show you." Victoria's penthouse was all glass and steel and minimalism, except for one room. She'd never shown anyone this room. Not in 5 years. She opened the door. Inside were blueprints, dozens of them, spread across tables and pinned to walls. Architectural drawings for a children's hospital, beautiful, innovative, full of light and possibility. "These were yours," Victoria said quietly. "The project you lost. I bought the plans at auction 3 years ago. I told myself it was an investment, but really, I think I was drawn to them because they were designed by someone who understood loss, who designed spaces for healing." Marcus stepped into the room, overwhelmed. His life's work, his dream, everything he'd lost. "I want to fund this project," Victoria continued. "Build it properly, with you as the lead architect, not as charity, as restitution, for a world that crushed you when you deserve support." "Victoria, I can't." "You can, you will." She turned to face him. "I'm creating a foundation for single parents who face tragedy, job training, childcare support, mental health services, and this hospital will be the centerpiece. A place that understands that healing isn't just physical." Marcus felt tears streaming down his face. "Why?" "Because you taught me that emotion isn't weakness, that vulnerability is courage, that love, real, sacrificial love, is the strongest force in existence, and I want to build something that honors that, with you." The next morning, Victoria did something she hadn't done in 5 years. She visited a cemetery. Marcus stood beside her at the small grave marker. "Maya Chen, forever loved, forever missed." Victoria placed a stuffed elephant on the grave, the one she'd bought 5 years ago and couldn't bear to keep. "Hi, baby girl," she whispered. "Mommy's sorry she stayed away so long. I was scared. But I met someone. Actually, 2 someones. A man who understands loss and keeps walking anyway. And his daughter, who sees the best in everyone." Her voice broke. Marcus's hand found hers. "They're teaching me how to feel again. How to be human. I think you'd like them. I think you'd want me to try again. To be something other than cold and alone." They stood in silence. Then Victoria turned to Marcus. "I can't promise I'll be good at this. At being open, vulnerable, trusting. I've spent 5 years building walls." "Walls can be taken down," Marcus said softly. "One brick at a time. Will you help me?" "Every day." If you'll help me too. Help me believe I'm more than my failures. That I deserve something good. You deserve everything good. They stood together in the morning light. Two wounded people beginning the slow, difficult, beautiful work of healing. The groundbreaking ceremony for the Maya Chen Children's Hospital was attended by hundreds. Marcus stood at the podium in a suit that fit properly this time. Lily beside him in a dress she'd picked out herself. This hospital, Marcus said, his voice steady and clear, represents something my late wife taught me, that the spaces we build should heal not just bodies, but hearts. It's named for someone I never met, but whose mother I've come to care for deeply. Someone who deserves to be remembered, not as a loss, but as an inspiration. Victoria watched from the front row, tears streaming openly down her face. She no longer cared who saw, no longer cared about the algorithm's reputation. She cared about this, about the warmth spreading through her chest, about the little girl who'd grabbed her hand during the speech, about the man whose eyes found hers across the crowd and promised tomorrow. After the ceremony, Lily tugged Victoria's sleeve. "Ms. Victoria, can I call you something else? Ms. Victoria is so formal." Victoria knelt down to Lily's level. "What would you like to call me?" Lily thought carefully. "How about V, like the letter? Or," she bit her lip, "could I maybe one day call you something else, something more family?" Victoria pulled the child into a hug, something that would have been unthinkable a year ago. "One day, sweetheart. When we're all ready. One day." That evening, the three of them stood on the empty hospital site, watching the sunset over Manhattan. Marcus held Lily's hand. Victoria held his other hand. Lily grabbed Victoria's free hand, completing the circle. "Look," Lily said, pointing at their shadows on the ground. "We make one big shadow, like we're one thing." "We are one thing," Victoria said softly. "We are a family. Maybe not a traditional one, maybe a little broken, a little weird." "Beautifully broken," Marcus corrected. "Beautifully broken." Victoria agreed. "Learning to build something new from pieces that didn't fit before. Like architecture," Lily said wisely. "Daddy always says the best buildings use old materials in new ways." Marcus laughed. "I did say that, didn't I?" "You say lots of smart things," Victoria murmured, leaning her head on his shoulder. "You should talk more." "I'm learning to. You're teaching me that my voice matters. And you're teaching me that hearts can do more than algorithms. That some equations don't have logical solutions. They have human ones." They stood together as the sky turned gold, then pink, then purple. Three people who'd been lost. Three people who'd been broken. Three people who'd found each other in the exact moment they'd all stopped looking. "Hey," Lily said suddenly. "Want to hear a joke?" "Always," Marcus and Victoria said together. Why did the architect break up with his blueprint? Why? Because it kept giving him mixed signals. Lily dissolved into giggles. Marcus groaned. Victoria laughed. A real laugh, full and genuine and free. And somewhere, in whatever comes after, two women smiled. Sarah Reeves and Maya Chen, watching the people they loved learn to love again. The foundation was laid. The structure was sound. And on that foundation, three hearts would build something that couldn't be measured in dollars or square footage or efficiency ratings. They would build a home. Not a house, a home. The kind that exists not in walls and roofs, but in morning laughter and shared tears and small hands holding tight. The kind built on vulnerability and trust and the terrifying, exhilarating choice to risk your heart one more time. Marcus looked at Victoria. Victoria looked at Marcus. Both looked at Lily. "Ready to go home?" Marcus asked. "Yeah," Victoria said, the words still new in her mouth. let's go home." And as they walked toward the car, their three shadows merged into one long shadow stretching behind them, proof that separate pieces could become something whole. The end. But also, more accurately, the beginning. The strongest foundations are built not from steel and concrete, but from courage and choice. The courage to be vulnerable and the choice to build again.